Today on Mother Mayhem.
A part of you that learned very early that staying harsh, vigilant, and relentless was going to be safer for you than being soft, curious, or slow. Welcome back to Mother Mayhem, the podcast for daughters of narcissistic and emotionally limited mothers. I'm your host, Heather Gray, and you guys, I am just going to do y'all a solid right now, and I'm just going to tell you, you might need the tissues for this one, so go ahead and just grab them now. I have been working on the script for this conversation for a few hours, and as I'm reviewing parts of it, my eyes keep leaking. So this conversation is going to come with that kind of warning label. This episode is just going to catch you right in the feels, I think. It has gripped my heart since the second I got the letter, and it just hasn't let go. I am just so incredibly moved. All of you just, gosh, you guys, you just move me. Your bravery, your truth-telling, how much you see each other, how much you all understand each other, you care for each other, you care about each other, and all of that is here in this letter. This letter is mayhem at its very, very best. Wait until you all hear what you have done for today's daughter, how much you've helped her, how you've taken care of her without even knowing her. I cannot wait to hear the power of what you have all done for her. And we know this. If you have done it for one, you have done it for many. And I'm just so proud of you. Today's daughter, I've named you Lila. You talk in your letter about wanting to be able to laugh again. And I wanted to choose a name that would maybe cue you to think about light and laughter. Every time you thought about sharing your story here on Mayhem, I hope you hear Lila and think of laughter. And I hope you find your way toward laughter sooner rather than later. Now, here's your story. I'm going to find you on the other side. Dear Heather, I do not say this at all lightly when I tell you that mayhem very well may have saved my life. I had been in therapy and stuck in a nervous system storm for about 5 months when I first encountered your show. I was intensely dysregulated, losing my thoughts and words, struggling to calm down, and really struggling just to function. I have a 3-year-old little girl, and everything I had was going to her. Every ounce of energy, care, and compassion was for her, and I had nothing left for myself. I wandered into the first therapy office that had an opening, and while my therapist was kind and well-meaning, nothing was piercing through what was hurting me. My therapist suggested that I might benefit from intensive outpatient treatment so I could get some help regulating, but my insurance declined the stay. My therapist was kind and offered me this. I think your struggles surpass what I can offer you, but I would like to offer you this space until you can find a new person who is a better fit. It was really scary being told that I was so screwed up that I had surpassed someone's ability to help me. I couldn't believe how damaged and broken I felt, and I was so scared for myself and for my daughter. When I went to my next session, my therapist said, let's try something different. There's this podcast, and I think you might relate to it. I heard this clip, and I thought you might find it helpful. And that was how I was introduced to you, to Mayhem, and to all of the other daughters. Heather, I collapsed, literally on the ground, fetal position, and I just started sobbing. It might sound awful to all of the other daughters listening right now, but I just felt relief, like a wall had come down and everything started gushing out, and I didn't even have to say a word. You really saw me. You saw me. I was cracked open. I couldn't believe I was hearing my own story reflected back to me so clearly by a woman who had never met me. I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and my therapist got on the ground with me, and she put her hand on my back while I cried. I have been so tightly wound my whole life. I've lived in fear, feeling like something would catch up with me if I ever stopped. I've never known the point of therapy or what I should be doing in it because I never really felt like I even had a story to tell. I don't have memories, but what you were describing was exactly what it feels like to be me in my body. My therapist told me that she thinks I have cPTSD and that she noticed how my body would shift and my voice would change to a whisper anytime I talked about how I grew up. That's what made her think of your podcast and how it might help me, and it really did. For several weeks, she and I would use sessions playing clips of your show. I couldn't talk about my own life yet, and I still can't do that very much, but I can talk about it when it's outside of myself, and your show has been everything to me. I told my therapist that I was looking forward to when I had a story that I could share on the show, and she suggested that this might actually be the story. That sometimes for some daughters, they can't access the story because it's too hard, too raw, too vulnerable, and too unsafe. She suggested that maybe there were other daughters where I was, disconnected from their memories, but still in pain and still scared. I spent some time thinking of my question for you, and I do have one. But first, I need to thank the daughters who have shared their stories, their worries, and their fears. You have all kept me company, and I know how hard it must have been for you, but I want you to know that you have kept me company on the darkest of days, especially you daughters who are also mothers. I have been terrified of dealing with this because what if it becomes even more real and I become incapable of caring for my daughter? I couldn't bear that. My therapist thinks that this is a part of what has me so blocked up. Hearing that you have all connected with your kids, even though you've been betrayed by your moms, gives me so much hope, and you have helped me drop so much shame. My shame was getting in the way of telling the truth, and I realized that no daughter who is also a mother has ever written in. And I realized that no daughter who is also a mother has ever written in and made me think or feel anything but kinship and respect. So maybe that could be true for me too. You daughters who have shared your stories on the show are now my sisters, my guardian angels, and I'm so grateful for your bravery. Thank you for going first. And to other daughters who listen in and think they don't belong in this community because they don't have memories either, I get it. I believe you, I'm in it with you, and you are not alone. I am to do my best to speak for all of us when I ask Heather this. Okay, Heather, now you're up. That probably means, Lila, that I need to get my shit together a little bit. Stop this crying thing. What do us daughters who know, sense, imagine, or think we have been hurt by our moms do when we don't have proof of our stories? I mean, I can tell you that my mom lives 6 states away, and yet I actually wet my underwear when her number popped up unexpectedly on my phone. I can tell you that I wake in the middle of the night, unable to catch my breath because of dreams I feel in my body, but can't remember. And I can tell you that I never stop screaming at myself. You talk about inner critics. Mine is an inner monster. She's awful, and she beats me up all the time. I don't want to ask you where to begin because I do think I've actually already begun. But how do we do this? I feel so behind. And I know this one feels like a long ways off, but I don't want it to be. Heather, this community, oh, this is ironic. Heather, this community knows you love yourself a good cry. And I know I'm not the only one who is healed just having you model that for us. I feel you cry. I hear how you model seeing that cry all the way through. And I think I even feel the exhale in my body when you're done and can continue talking. I don't think you know how beautiful, special, or what a gift of safety that is for us daughters, but I can have myself a good cry. I can touch pain. Sometimes, yes, I rush it and I shut it down too quickly, but I can see what you offer, and I'm learning to offer that to myself too. I don't know how to make this next part not weird, so I'm just going to be weird. Oh, dear me. Heather, it's your laugh. You laugh with us. You do that whole tell me you're a daughter without telling me you're a daughter bit. You laugh at yourself. You laugh at our moms, and you never laugh at us unless, of course, you're teasing, and it's a sign of love. And yes, Heather, we do hear your love. I promise. Well, thank goodness for that. But how do you laugh? How do you access that? When you laugh, I do smile, and maybe I hear some kind of gurgle or hum come from the back of my throat, but I want to be able to laugh with you. I want to be able to laugh at myself. I want to access that kind of spark, energy, freedom, and it really just feels so far away. When I think of what healing might feel like, I think it has to do with the idea that I might someday be able to laugh and cry. You guys, I gotta read this right. I hope I can. Lila, I'm going to try to do well by you with this. Okay, here goes. I saw my daughter the other day fart and then giggle as she bent over to look at and talk to her butt. She was all ass in the air, and I could feel my delight. But still, I looked around to see who else was there. Heather, I was only in my own damn backyard. I am so ready for more freedom. I never thought that healing would sound like laughing the next time my daughter decides to talk to her ass. Should there be a next time for that? But that does feel like what freedom from pain must feel like. Seeing something preposterous and acknowledging it without feeling like I have to read the room first. I honestly don't know how to end this letter. I feel like I haven't told you what you've meant to me, how I'm so thankful. You, sister, are changing lives, and don't ever let there be a day when you forget that. I'm ever grateful, and fellow sisters with shit memories too. I hope I've done well by all of you here. I see you, I believe you, and I'm in it with you in solidarity and mayhem. Always. You guys, I just can't get over you sometimes. Honestly, Lila, thank you so much for all of this. What an incredible compliment you have offered me in this, and what a testament to the absolute very best of mayhem. This one really is so special, and I'm really glad that you wrote in. Thank you for seeing me right back. Thank you for believing that my feelings are real, and the idea that parts of me that have been too much for other people or that have been experienced as insincere are now the beacons and signs of healing for others. Well, that one just gobsmacks me a little bit, honestly. I didn't think such a thing was possible. So thank you so very much for this gift. And I really do want to take good care of you in your questions in your letter. But first, I also just, if it's okay, I just want to offer a note of acknowledgement and support to your therapist, because she really did the heavy lifting here. And I know you know that. I could hear your gratitude and respect for her in your letter. But also, all of you, honestly, I have to tell you, sometimes therapists, well, They're actually the absolute worst. Sometimes the meanest feedback and the most ostracizing comments I've ever received have been from therapists who like to sit in the cheap seats, who are afraid of getting their hands dirty, or who would never imagine coloring outside the lines. And also, I've been where your therapist has been, sitting in front of someone in incredible pain and thinking she could just do so much better in front of someone other than me. And I have felt that, and that feeling sucks. So, therapist to therapist, atta girl. What an incredible gift you gave Lila. You figured her out. She couldn't name in her own words what was going on, but you saw her so clearly, and you let her borrow someone else's words until she could find her own again. And that is just an incredibly brilliant offering that you gave her. I have so much respect for that. Truly, that is really incredible work you did. Well done. And thank you so very much for sending Lila to Mayhem. You clearly have her. And now Mayhem, well, we've got her too. Okay, Lila, here's what I want you to know right away. Just as other daughters who are also moms have helped you in sharing their stories, and I need you to know that what you just did really did help daughters living with cPTSD feel seen in their stories too. What an incredible gift you just gave them, because I've met the daughters right where you are, wondering if they belong, wondering if there's room for them in Mayhem, and wondering if their pain is real, if it counts. And of course, all of you belong. Of course, we have plenty of room here. And yes, your pain is real. And yes, it absolutely counts. Yes to all of it. Yes, you belong here. And we've got you. And holy fucking yes, are you going to be able to laugh someday? Holy fucking yes to that. You are in the middle of a god-awful season. And the way out, well, we know it's intensely foggy. But I hold so much hope for you. So much. And this isn't, I promise, this isn't just me blowing smoke and unicorns up your behind. See what I did there, Lila? You have a penchant for asses in the air, right? In any case, I am not just sprinkling your real, genuine fear with magical fairy dust. In a little while, I'm going to explain how and why I think all of this is true so you can believe it yourself. But first, let's just talk directly about the cPTSD you're living with and your struggle with memory, because this is something daughters experience and they struggle with, and I think I can help. But before I go any further, I need you to hear this. I'm looking at my outline for this particular conversation and everything that's coming next, and it's a doozy. I have a lot of words written out to try to explain this, and a lot of words can end up meaning a lot of pressure on your nervous system, which could mean that your system might just shut down and check out. And if that happens again, I get it. It's your system protecting you, and we have respect for your system. So I just want you to remind yourself, you do not have to remember any of this. This can be for your therapist to carry in her back pocket as a guide or even as a treatment plan for how the two of you can work together going forward. She's got you. I've got you. Mayhem's got you. Here goes. One of the hardest things for daughters to understand, and one of the scariest, is the idea that if I can't remember it, maybe it didn't happen. Or worse, maybe I'm making it up. And I want to say this as clearly and as calmly as I can. Your nervous system is not confused. It's not lying. It's not broken. Memory loss or not being able to access your memories is not a sign that nothing happened. It is more often a sign that too much happened for a child to be able to hold safely. When you grow up in an environment where you have to stay alert, adaptive, careful, emotionally responsible, your system learns very early that survival depends on staying functional. That's exactly what you're seeing as you're raising your daughter right now. Your system has been wired to stay functional. It is not built for processing right now. Your system's protecting your ability to function by closing access off to your ability to process or to create meaning. Your system likely and rightfully thinks if we get too close to this whole thing could blow. The gig will be up and we need to be able to function to take care of our daughter. So it's keeping you functioning, but in doing so, it's disconnecting you from yourself. And I'm sure that feels so awful and it must be so confusing. Your body's doing what it's always done. It's keeping you going. It's keeping you performing. It has you scanning. And you are by no means stopping at that feeling station. There is simply no time for that, sister. It would be too inconvenient. And when things are this tightly capped and contained, the only thing your memory is seen or experienced as is an intrusion on your peace, on your ability to function. So it keeps all of those hard and heavy things at bay in the name of keeping you standing. That does not mean that you are resistant in any way. And I promise you that it does not mean that you are too broken. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Keep you safe at all costs. And you have probably heard me explain in other episodes how, for a lot of you daughters, your stories live in your bodies. And you, my friend, are seeing this in living color in the way that your bladder responds when your mom's name appears on the phone. Your story is present. It's in your breath when it catches in the middle of the night. Your therapist heard your story and the way that your voice drops. And you might see or feel your story in the way that your shoulders curl a little bit inward, or how your body might get small without you even deciding to do that. And yes, sometimes the story is literally screaming at you from the inside out as your inner critic rages, attacks, and punishes. And that, unfortunately, is a part of memory. It just isn't the kind we've all come to expect. So I want to explain this slowly and carefully, because this is one of those moments where I do feel like I'm only a few steps of all of you in understanding some of this for myself. And I do want to make sure that I get it right for you. The thing about memories connected to trauma is that they often end up being what psychobabble calls state-based. That's a phrase I've actually only come to understand in the past year or so. And I'm not all that confident in it, so you're not going to hear me use this jargon very often, but I'm going to offer you my take and my understanding of it. State-based means this. Instead of being stored as a story that you can recall, trauma memories end up being stored as a state that your body enters. So a state becomes a whole body condition. It includes your breathing, how much tension your body or your muscles are holding. It can affect your heart rate, your posture, your voice, your sense of time, the way you see yourself in the world in that moment. So rather than remembering, this happened to me when I was 7, your body ends up remembering, this is what it feels like to be unsafe. And it remembers it without words. So this is why so many daughters say, I don't have memories, but my body reacts. I can't tell you what happened, but I know exactly how it feels. You can see how, when I reflected back, that none of that is actually vague in any kind of way. It's actually pretty accurate. And Lila, I think that now that I'm explaining it in this way, I think you're going to find a moment of recognition within yourself, because I think this is what you experienced when your therapist played a clip of the show. You see, when a memory is state-based, it doesn't and it can't show up on demand. It shows up when something in the present moment matches that original state closely enough. So that might be a tone of voice, a look, a text notification, a smell, or a phrase. Suddenly your body ends up dropping into that familiar place. Your chest might tighten, your thoughts might shift, your voice goes quiet, your urge to sort of disappear or run might kick in. That is your memory too. It just doesn't end up getting organized as a timeline. It's your survival response. So hearing the podcast was that moment of recognition for you, that felt sense of being seen and understood. You recognized what was true for you in your body when you heard your experience reflected back to you on the show. And this is pretty common when the trauma happened early on, or when it happened repeatedly, or inside of relationships where you still had to stay attached to the very person who was frightening you or overwhelming you. Your system could not afford to remember it in a way that would stop you from functioning. So it learned to store the experience without the story. Now, that's not repression in the dramatic Jerry Springer talk show sense. It's protection. It's why forcing yourself to remember is never really going to be helpful. Your system has your story on lockdown, and that lock doesn't release with pressure. It opens up with safety. So if you're listening or thinking along with Lila here, I don't have proof. I can't access my story. I must be doing therapy all wrong. I want all of you to hear this. You're not missing something. Your body has been carrying the record all along. And the work here is not going to be to force your memory out into the open. It's going to be able to help your system learn that it can come out of those protective lockdown states and still be safe, that there won't be danger. This moment that you and your therapist ended up finding yourself in, Lila, makes a lot of sense to me. It's the same moment that I have gotten stuck at with clients too. And it's why the more I do this work and have these kinds of conversations, the more I actually see how limiting traditional therapy is and how it can sometimes feel like a freaking setup to fail before you have even begun. Traditional therapy often assumes that insight comes from telling the story. In all honesty, that's why this show had stories be such a front and center aspect of it from the beginning. But here's what I've learned since we started the show. For daughters like you, the story sometimes gets locked And it's not because you're avoiding it, but it's because your system is still protecting you from getting overwhelmed by it. And I want to continue by naming something really gently here. Your fear about becoming incapable of caring for your daughter, if you open this particular door, makes so much sense to me. For many daughters who are also mothers, the body ends up believing if I fall apart, my child will pay the price. So the system clamps down harder. It keeps the lid on tighter, and it tells you we can't afford to feel this yet. That's how devoted and loyal to your daughter you are. And I want you to know that I hear that. So if we're not forcing you to remember anything, what the heck are we actually doing here? Well, we're trying to learn how to stay present in your body without flooding. We want to help you learn how to notice when that inner monster shows up and understand that she is not a truth teller. She's a trauma adaptation that learned that cruelty once kept you moving. I want to offer a little bit of a different starting point. How do we help your nervous system learn that it is safer now than it used to be? Lila, I hate to have to say this, but this work is mind-numbingly slow. It is painfully boring. It will always likely at some point feel tedious. And also, it is how you keep saving your own life, because you already saved it once by surviving everything that you have that has gotten you here. But the way out is going to require a different kind of map. So here's what I want you and your therapist to try together. And P.S. here, if your therapist wants to reach out to me for some guidance on what this can look like in a session, please do let her know that she has my permission to do so. Because what we want to do here is help you start to learn how to notice the physical cues in your body without interrogating them, without litigating them, without giving them the third degree. We are just noticing. Oh, my voice gets quiet when someone asks me a question, or my hands clench when A, B, or C. We want you to notice your body. Let it know that you see it and that it is okay to be reacting that way. You can see your hands clenched and say, wow, you seem stressed. I see you. Your stress is welcome here. You have my permission to be here. We aren't going to be doing any kind of meaning making or creating any stories. Instead, we're focusing you on noticing the sensation. Oh, I just got lightheaded. Whoa, it feels like my heart skipped a beat. My hands are sweating. It sounds like someone's talking to me through a tunnel. We're just naming those things. We're not assigning any judgment. We're not asking it any questions. We're noticing and accepting their presence. Now, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into your whole inner monster thing in a bit, but I want to start by saying this. I want to say we are just noticing that she is there, and we are working to help separate her from your actual self. We're not arguing with her. We're recognizing her. We're acknowledging that she's there to keep you safe and to help you survive. So you might say, I hear you. I see you. I know you're scared. I see you there. It's okay. And you guys keep doing therapy just as you have been. Keep making it about being present with one another. As your body has experienced, that is still damned good therapy, even when it's not about process or content. And for us therapists that were trained a little back in the day, it might end up feeling like we aren't doing enough or that we're not doing enough to meet insurance requirements. Because, of course, the insurance companies are not exactly updated on trauma informed practices. But you guys just keep doing you. It's what's going to keep you from needing that higher level of care you thought you needed at the beginning. And P.S., therapists, that is actually what you're going to say in the note, that you did interventions designed to prevent the client from needing to access a higher level of care. Letting therapy be about presence before it's about content. This has been the hardest lesson for me to really get inside my own thick skull, even though I've read the research myself. And that is the highest indicator for a successful therapy outcome. It isn't actually the modality, it is the therapeutic relationship. You two are making such big deposits into that. And it's why I hold so much hope for you, Lila, honestly. So now let's you and I talk a little bit more about that inner critic of yours, because I have become rather fond of you and I am not really a fan of the shit she's been talking to you. And while I do believe that kicking her to the curb starts with acknowledging that she's there, I am not going to be satisfied leaving it at that. I think I can help you, and I think I can offer a little bit more. First, what I want to reframe a little bit here is what you're dealing with, because calling this voice an inner critic, in a way, kind of doesn't really even do it justice. What you're describing feels more to me like an inner enforcer. It sounds very Star Wars like. A part of you that learned very early that staying harsh, vigilant, and relentless was going to be safer for you than being soft, curious, or slow. That voice didn't come from nowhere. It formed in the same way the rest of your nervous system did. It came up as a solution. Because when daughters grow up in an environment where mistakes are simply not tolerated, emotions are not welcome, and safety feels conditional, the system learns to police or litigate itself from the inside. So basically what happens is your system starts to think, if I attack myself first, maybe no one else will. If I stay on alert, maybe I won't be caught off guard. If I never rest, nothing bad will happen. So this part of you became loud. It got cruel, absolute, unwavering, inarguable. It learned that shame and fear were tools for survival. And now, obviously, I am not particularly a fan of any of this, but I do understand that it started as a way to survive. So remember what I walked you through, what it meant to be moving from one specific state when it came to your memory. Well, your inner critic here, or your inner enforcer, as I'm getting attached to calling it, is kind of like a trauma state, except it has a mouth on it. And again, it is state-based, so it doesn't respond to logic and it doesn't respond to reassurance. You can't argue it into submission. But also, the good news here is that you don't need to analyze it to death. What helps instead is learning how to change the conditions that allow your inner critic to come in and take over. So rather than asking yourself, how do I get rid of her? A better question you're going to find is going to end up being, what state am I in when she shows up? And this is where I tend to nerd out just a little bit, because it does get cool for us psychobabblers. You're going to start to notice patterns. And you like patterns, because as soon as we see a pattern, it becomes easier to separate the noise and the voice from your actual self. You might find, for example, that she gets louder when you're tired, when you're alone, when you feel like you might be getting judged or evaluated in some way. You might notice that she pops in when something slows down or your system doesn't quite know what to do when it gets quiet. That right there is your nervous system slipping into an old familiar gear. So, one of the first kind of practical basic steps you can do here is not to confront the voice, but connecting to your body when it appears. So, it's exactly what I coached you through earlier. We want to name what's happening in real time. Something as simple as, I notice my chest is tight and my thoughts are getting mean. That can create the separation we're looking for, that can separate you from that voice and your actual self. And we're not trying to just get the voice to stop. You're trying to recognize that state or pattern she ends up belonging to. And over time, and this is important, the work becomes about helping your system learn that it can move out of that state and not get punished for it, that it can soften without something really bad happening, and that rest does not automatically mean danger. That care for yourself does not mean you're abandoning your daughter. And Lila, I know that this is really tender territory for you because your system believes that staying hard and staying vigilant is what's keeping your child safe. So we have to go super, super slowly. We're not asking you to drop your guard all at once. We're asking you to experiment with these really small moments of being gentle with yourself so that you can see what actually happens. So you might start by noticing when the voice quiets all on its own, even if it only starts to quiet for a quick second, even for like a few seconds. That is so much better and more important than silencing it, because we don't want you silencing any of your parts. We want you understanding them and then seeing how they make sense. And also, please just let me say this part. The fact that you can talk about this voice with such clarity, the fact that you know it's vicious, the fact that you can even wonder if there's another way to be talking to yourself tells me something really important. There is a part of you, Lila, that already knows that this isn't your whole story. This is what's telling me that there's a part of you that has not been crushed, even if she feels a little bit buried right now. We are not trying to uncover memories. We're not trying to fix you. We're not trying to rush you forward. What we're doing here is helping your system learn that it does not have to scream to survive. That is how we're going to get the volume to eventually start to come down. So, Lila, about you and laughing. What a thing you shared. I just find it so incredibly brave because it is so incredibly true. It really is hard for daughters to feel like they can access or touch laughter. And that can be really hard to admit. I'm really glad you said something, because when one daughter is thinking it or feeling it, we know so many other daughters are listening and thinking and feeling it too. I am really glad and grateful that you gave words to this experience. And I want to be able to help you out a bit if I can. Here's what I think might help you understand this one a little bit more. Laughter lives in the same part of the nervous system that play does, that spontaneity does, that connection does. It doesn't come from effort or force. It comes from safety. Your body's able to access or connect to laughter and humor when it's also not trying to scan and protect. It can show up for you once you're able to stop waiting to be evaluated. The moment looking around at your yard, you're so afraid that your hard time is going to mean something about something for your daughter, or that it's going to say something about you as a mom or about your parenting. So you're looking around before you laugh with your kid, lest there be someone there and think you're laughing at her, or that you're thinking something else unkind. I know you're asking me how I laugh, but I don't think that this is a how-to question. What I hear underneath this, in the underbelly, is longing. I hear you wondering how your body can possibly feel free enough to let sound come out without checking first. And this is where I really hope I can normalize something for you. For daughters who grew up needing to read the room, laughter really did come with some amount of risk. That's what you've seen and sensed with me and my own laughter, right? It draws attention, it takes up space, it signals aliveness, for lack of a better word. And aliveness in your homes wasn't safe. Being quiet, being contained, and appropriate was how so many of you saved your own lives. So your system learned to hold delight inside of itself. You can feel it, you can sense it, you can even smile, but letting it move through you, letting it rise up, feels exposing and vulnerable. And that moment that you described in your backyard kind of captures this whole thing pretty perfectly. You felt the delight. Your body recognized something preposterous and joyful. And at the same time, another part of you looked around. Who's watching? Is this okay? Do I need to rein it in? In a moment like that, your vigilance was louder than your joy. And here's what I really need you to hear. We can't get you to access laughter by trying to get you to laugh. You access laughter by slowly teaching your nervous system that nothing bad is going to happen when you don't edit yourself. That's why your daughter's giggle matters so much. Her body didn't check first, it responded. And your body noticed that, it recognized it. That recognition is memory of another state that exists inside of you too. And right now, laughter may only show up as that little slight hum, or a gurgle, or a breath that almost turns into a sound. And that's okay. I actually heard your laughter and the humorous way you told all of us about her ass being in the air. You are connected to your humor. I heard it. It made me laugh. That was your system experimenting. We're never going to be able to force you into any kind of freedom. The goal is always going to have to be to help you notice moments where freedom stops by for a quick visit, for a quick second, and then we help you stay inside that moment for a half a second or a beat longer than usual. So you might start by letting yourself name delight quietly. That's funny, or that's absurd, or that feels good. Not out loud at first even, just internally to yourself. That is going to help your system link joy with safety. And then over time, those moments are going to grow for you, not because you're pushed, but because your body learns that it doesn't need to clamp down quite so fast. And I also want to say something important about crying, because you mentioned that one too. Laughing and crying come from the same place. They both require permission to feel without control. So the fact that you can cry deeply, fully, tells me that you have a pathway and that it's already open for you. It's just a little bit uneven right now. And that kind of makes sense to me. It happens like that. And your system might have an easier time connecting to pain than it does to joy right now. That's okay. You're closer than you think, I think. Healing doesn't mean becoming carefree or silly all the time. It means having access. It means being able to feel something else rise up and not immediately shut it down. And that freedom is never going to show up all at once. It's going to sneak in, often through the back door. And moments like you had with your daughter, and those little tiny hums and gurgles and half laughs, and then one day, without warning, a sound will come out. We don't want to rush that. We don't want to pressure it. We're just going to welcome it when it shows up. And when it does, it'll be because your body finally believed that it was allowed. Lila, I adored your letter. I am so grateful to you for sharing your truth, for saying a ton of words in your lap. But I trust you to hold what you can and what feels safe, and I trust your therapist to hold the rest for you. She can hold that big picture for you while you work on healing a little bit more each day. I am really so glad you found Mayhem. Thanks again to your therapist for introducing you to it. I am so very glad you're here. You, my friend, are a member of this community of women from around the world who are in this together. And I, for sure, most definitely, am in it with you too. Bye for now. If you felt seen in this episode, I want you to know the work doesn't end here. What we're talking about on the podcast, relational trauma, mother wounds, identity, and healing, was never meant to be worked through alone. That's why I've built an entire ecosystem of support around Mother Mayhem, and you can now find all of it over at mayhemdaughters.com. You'll learn more about our weekly support groups, which meet Tuesdays at noon and Thursdays at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. These aren't trauma dumps. They're spaces for real connection, mutual support, and movement making. You'll also find our private online community, Mayhem Daughters, where the conversation continues between episodes. It's not social media. It's something safer, deeper, and intentionally designed to support your healing. And if you're not quite ready to share in a group but want my eyes on your story, I offer one-on-one Mayhem consultations as well. You can learn more about all of it over at mayhemdaughters.com. If this show has helped you and you want to help keep it ad-free, you can do that through the sponsor link on the website. But I also want to be clear. If you're already a member of group in the community or you've worked with me one-on-one, you are already supporting the show. There's nothing more I'm asking of you. If you have a story or reflection of your own, I'd love to hear it. You can send a message or a voice note of 10 minutes or less to heather@mayhemdaughters.com. There's no mayhem without your stories or your questions. And if you know another woman who needs this conversation in her life, please share the show with her. Your reviews and social shares make a real difference, and I hope you'll consider doing so. And lastly, a heartfelt thank you to Heather Clark for editing the show. She's been in it with me since 2016 and somehow always knows what I meant to say, even when I don't quite say it right. This isn't just a show, it's a community, and you're already a part of it. I'm so glad to have you in it with me.